In this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can make a perfume using AI. Now, this is not actually something that I've done before, but we're going to be doing it for the first time together. So I'm going to try it out and see what happens. We're going to see if it makes us a good perfume or see if it comes out absolutely terrible. Now, this is actually not something I've tried before, mostly because it's not really something that I've been that interested in trying. And that's because of what AI is, because you've got to understand that what AI is on a very, very simple level is essentially using the computer to take a very, very large quantity of data and then using that to kind of, let's say, predict new results to your problem. You know, it's very, very much an oversimplification. But the thing that it hinges on in general is having a large amount of data. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are aware who've tried to make your own perfumes by following advice online. There's not actually that much information out there on the internet at the moment that, you know, contains things like perfume formulas, i.e. data that an AI could go and use. I'm sure that, you know, in the future there will be great AIs for creating perfumes with, you know, the correct data. However, at the moment, you know, here we are in 2024. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like I can't imagine that there is enough data available online to, you know, for an AI to read and give good results. So that's, you know, why I thought, you know, maybe in the future this thing could be really cool. But for now, you know, my assumption was, you know, probably won't be that good. So I thought, you know what, because some of you guys have come to me and you've said, hey Sam, why don't you test out AI for perfumery? Oh, you know, I've been trying to use AI to make my perfume formulas and this and that. So I thought, you know what, why don't we just go and test it out in this video? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop on to ChatGPT, which seems to be the AI thing most people use these days. And we're going to ask it to create us a perfume formula. And then after that, I'm going to go write it out in formula. We're going to weigh it out and then we're going to make it and see what it's like. So let's hop into ChatGPT and let's get started. Okay, so here we are in ChatGPT. So yeah, I don't honestly really use this much. I should probably learn more how to use it, but I'm just going to ask it like to create a perfume formula. So let's do that. Can you please create a perfume formula? Okay, right, so perfume is like, okay, let's have a look. Here's a basic formula. Okay, base notes, patchouli, vanilla, sandalwood. Middle notes, jasmine, rose, ylang ylang. Top notes, bergamot, lavender. Okay, and then extras, you can add ambroxan or musk. Okay, so what do I like and do I not like? So firstly, the fact that it came up with base, middle, and top notes already is kind of good, because that's, you know, actually kind of what we want, usually a balance of those things. And then it did pretty much pick, you know, reasonable ingredients. Like all of these things are stuff that you would put in a perfume. Now, it didn't specify the raw materials. It didn't say patchouli essential oil, for example, or vanilla absolute. For example, are we meant to be using vanilla absolute or some kind of infusion or just some kind of substitute like vanilla? So it's kind of given it as a note, which is not ideal, but you know what, they're all things, at least notes, which do correspond one-to-one to raw material, so that's not too bad to begin with. And then it also did mention things like ambroxan and musk, and again, it hasn't specified which musk specifically. It hasn't given us a proper raw material like ambroxolide or muscanone, you know, like we'd usually expect. It's just said musk, so it's kind of, you know, kind of like, yeah, and at the same time it's kind of missing some stuff. Now what I don't like here is that it's given everything in drops, because, you know, you've probably, if you know me by now, you watch my videos, there's a load of reasons to use weight instead of drops, so I don't like that, but I can also see why it probably came up with that, because there's a lot of info on the internet using drops, which isn't always the best. However, you know, that's how it learns, crawling the internet for things. And then, yeah, and then do the proportions go well? Well, let's have a look at this. I mean, it's a lot of patchouli there. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, looking at it, I feel like the structure is definitely not a modern perfume structure, but I don't know, maybe it would be all right. So anyway, I think we can do a bit more work refining this, because I think, so when you use AI, right, like ChatGPT kind of thing, from what I've heard, the kind of thing that you're meant to be doing is to actually, you know, not always take what it says at face value, but you want to kind of chat with that and refine it. So what I'm going to ask it now is, oh, actually, wait, look, we've got some instructions here. So as he says, use carrot oil. So yeah, this is like probably, it's saying to use jojoba oil or coconut oil. This is something, there's a lot of info out there from, you know, kind of websites for like very basic perfume blends, which aren't really like, you know, proper like, you know, deep perfumery. And they have this kind of stuff. So this makes sense for me, where it's come from. But okay, what we're going to do is we're going to ask it to, you know, try to get it to come up with a formula that's a little bit more what I would call like proper, you know, like a little bit less just like add a few drops of this and that, but like let's try to get something a bit better. So let's say please, okay, do we even need to say please? Okay, let's say please. Please can you make a modern perfume formula? No, let's say, can you make a perfume formula using a mixture of natural and synthetic raw materials written in weight? So I wanted to write it in weight, and I also want to use synthetic raw materials because all of the things from before, apart from these two extras, have just been natural. So I'm hoping it might give me some, you know, I'm hoping that asking this might improve what it comes out with a little bit. Okay. So it's changed it to weight, which is good. However, okay, so now we have things like linalool and iSweet Super, which are kind of common synthetics, and it's mentioned stuff like hedione. So this is kind of an improvement. Well, it's not necessarily an improvement, but I mean, realistically, modern perfumes have these kind of things in. So, you know, in a sense. But we're still using a lot of naturals here. I mean, it doesn't look like, to me, like a, I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to smell bad or anything, but I mean, the perfume structure doesn't actually look like it's going to work that well. But it's kind of also like using safe bets, you know? It's using just common, nice smelling things like vanilla and sandalwood, jasmine, rose, iSweet Super, like bergamot, lemon. I mean, so it's probably going to smell fine. But it's still asking me to use carrot oils, which I don't love. But, you know. Now, we could use this, I guess, but it's still quite generic, right? At this stage, I feel like the formula is just, it seems to be like gravitating towards these generic kind of same raw materials. So maybe we can get it to make something a little bit more interesting. I don't know. Okay, I had an idea. So one thing that is a sign usually of being a good perfumer is to be able to make fruity or floral accords. Now, florals usually come with naturals, but fruity ones don't. So I feel like if we ask it to create a fruity perfume, maybe that's going to challenge it a little bit, because we're going to find out if it knows, you know, how to use raw materials which aren't actually named after the fruits to get the fruits and smells, i.e. create those kinds of accords in the perfume, or if it's going to kind of ask us to use like fragrance oils and things like that. So let's say write a formula. And I think we want to, well, no, okay. Write a formula for a modern fruity perfume inspired by designer perfume formulas written in grams. So I'm going to ask it again, well, I'm also asking as well as to be fruity. And grams, I'm going to say inspired by designer perfume formulas, because I kind of want to get something that smells, hopefully, you know, like something we could sell in the shops, like something that smells, that would be, you know, nice. Okay. Right, let's have a look. Right, okay. White musk, unfortunately, is not a real raw material. This is an accord which is completely open to interpretation. But, you know, we can work with that. Ambroxan is a big dose of ambroxan, sandalwood oil. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Peach accord, synthetic, rose essential oil. Okay, so it's kind of interesting now. Like, I actually think that now we're getting into an interesting perfume. It's not just spinning out the run-of-the-mill, like, concept of vanilla, sandalwood, and patchouli, and bergamot like it was before, and rose and jasmine. However, now, it is like I kind of imagined. It's telling us to use just peach accord synthetic. So I'm going to have to ask it, I guess, how to make these accords. Please, could you rewrite the formula using common perfumery. Only by the chords visual. So I'm just going to ask it to split up the accords into raw materials, because maybe it can do it. We'll see. Okay, blackcurrant nitrile. What is that? Crazy. Okay, we're gonna have to search this because I don't even know about this. Okay, hydroxynitriles in blackcurrant buds. Is it a thing, or is it just has it just made this up? Like, I don't know if this is a thing. Like, I cannot find anything about. Okay, let's ask it some more then. Okay, so it has expanded out the accords now, which is cool. Again, hexanyl acetate, is that common? A common raw material? So, no, I think it meant cis-free hexanyl acetate. Because hexanyl acetate on its own is something I've not heard of in perfumery. Interesting. Okay, so it's expanded these things out, which is kind of cool. So we need to get clarity on what blackcurrant nitrile is and hexanyl acetate. So we're going to ask that in a second. I also want to understand the white musk accord, and I don't have sandalore, so we're going to replace that. Please, could you expand the white musk accord? And so I've asked it to expand out the white musk accord. Okay, so cool. It's going putting that into exaltalide and galaxolide, and then it's just decided to replace sandalore entirely with nothing, which is fine, I guess. We don't mind. Okay, no, it's got a substitute. So look, ebonol. That's kind of cool. So this is actually pretty good, you know. It actually understands, like it, you know, I don't know about the quantities so far, but it actually even knows the names of raw materials, which is pretty cool because I didn't even know if it would know that. So, you know, that's kind of cool. I like it. Okay, so this is good. We can work with it. So next we're going to have to get some clarification on blackcurrant nitrile and hexanyl acetate. So please could you give the CAS numbers for okay, let's just copy this in. And for hexanyl acetates. Okay. So we can now search these. Okay, so I searched the CAS number and it has just come up with a completely random number. I mean, okay. We'll try the hexanyl acetate as well. Okay, so for hexanyl acetate, it did come up with a CAS number. So it does mean cis-free hexanyl acetate. So you can kind of see that it's kind of like it made up one completely, which is kind of funny. And then this one, it kind of just got the name wrong. So it's like, okay, let's get it to, okay, please remove. Let's get it to remove this stuff from the formula. You know, we're just going to ignore it for now. And the name of this to cis-free hexanyl acetates formula. Okay, so we're gonna see if we can do that. Cool. Okay. Although now we've got cis-free hexanyl acetate twice. So here's another problem, right? I've just noticed we've got cis-free hexanyl acetate in the mid and again in the top. But it is a top note, so it should not be here. is really like super top note. So let's ask it why it thinks it is a top note. Why do you think is a mid note? We're going to ask it why it thinks that, you know. It's commonly classified as a top note. Yeah, good. There we go. Let's adjust the formula to reflect this. That's exactly what I think. Yeah, we caught him red-handed. Okay, so how many lines is this now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I mean, we can make this up, I guess, fine. It says, you know, yeah, we can make this all with 10% pre-dilutions, and you know, if it's a good formula, we'll find out. So yeah, okay, let's have a quick look over this then before we make it. So oxalate and galaxolide to make some kind of musk base. Okay, we've got some ethyl. Again, I don't think ethyl maltol is really a mid note. I think it's a base note. Let's again. I mean, whatever. I don't mind that much, to be honest. Citral, I mean, honestly, looking at this formula, the whole thing is going to smell of these 3 raw materials because they are just so strong. It's going to smell of citral, isoamyl acetate, and cis-free hexanyl acetate. Like, I could tell you in advance, like, looking at this. So I guess we could ask it to balance it. You know, maybe we'll do a good job. Please, can you rebalance the formula to make the top notes more subtle? So yeah, I mean, it's made it a bit more subtle. I mean, realistically, it's still going to be too strong like this, but you know, I think this is going to be better. I don't know. You know what? Let's just see what it comes out as. I don't have high hopes, but I don't think it's going to be terrible. I think it will be like alright kind of thing. So let's find out. Let's ask it to tabulate the formula. Because you know that we don't need to, but it might help. Okay, I like it. Cool. Okay, this is kind of cool. I mean, what I do love about this is how you can just ask it stuff and it seems to do a pretty good job at interpreting what you want. Like, honestly, I don't know if the perfume formula is going to go well or not. Like, I don't know. We'll see. It might go well. But the fact that you can just ask it to do stuff like put this in a table is pretty cool, honestly, don't you think? Anyway, we can do this. So oxalate, galaxolide, ambroxide, that is just another name for ambroxan. So yeah, we can put all this together and we'll see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this in formula. So I'm actually going to take the same formula and I'm just going to write it in formula and then scale it to a suitable trial size. And then I'm going to go and make it. So I'll show you guys that. And then we're going to smell it and we'll see what it's like. So then on to actually making it up. So what we're going to do is take our scale and we're going to take a fresh sample bottle and I'm going to go and label it with our formula name, in this case, the perfume. You don't have to do it like with a fancy label printer like I have. You know, you can just do this with a pen and paper, but it is important to label it so in the future you remember what it actually is. So we're going to start off with the oxalate, and oxalate is a musk. And it's quite an aromatic leaning musk. And if you don't know what musks smell like in general, they're kind of like subtle, kind of fluffy smells that sit in the background of your perfume and last quite a long time. So we're going to weigh out 0.6 grams of the oxalate, and then we're going to add to this some galaxolide. And these two kind of come together to make a little musk base. And so far, nothing too untoward with that. That's quite usual for a perfume. And galaxolide compared to oxalate, that one smells a little bit cleaner. It has a little bit more of a top note element, so it comes through a little bit earlier on in the perfume, whereas the oxalate comes out a bit more when you actually leave it to dry down. So next we have Ambrofix, which is just a trade name for ambroxan. So ambroxan actually is made by a lot of different manufacturers with different trade names. So you can also get, for example, Ambermore DL, but these things smell mostly pretty similar. And this is actually put in at a very high amount. So in terms of our perfume concentrate, it ends up at almost 15%, which for ambroxan is massive because this stuff is very strong. Anyway, next we have phenylethyl acetate. And this is actually a little bit like phenylethyl alcohol, which is something that's usually used in floral accords, which has quite a petally smell. But this is the acetate version, and this smells sweeter, more honeyed, and a bit more synthetic. Next then we have ethyl maltol. So this stuff is very sweet, kind of sugary smell. and it's actually used in things like, well, gourmand perfumes, candy floss, but a lot of other kind of, baked goods scents. So, it helps give you a toffee-like smell. After that then, we're putting in some bergamot. So bergamot is actually a citrus oil, and it lasts just a little bit longer than some of the other ones like orange or lemon. And overall, it's a bit of a fizzy, kind of bright, fresh smelling citrus. Next then, we have citral, and this is actually naturally found inside lemon oil. But this is actually one of the things that really makes a lemon smell like a lemon. So this is used a lot in synthetic flavors and fragrances to make a lemony smell. So it smells a bit like synthetic lemon sweets. Next we have isoamyl acetate, and this, a little bit similar to citral in a sense, is very powerful. This time though, this one is used for banana flavoring. So synthetic banana stuff, this is kind of what it smells like. Then after that we have cis-free hexanol acetate, and this is the acetate version of cis-free hexanol. And cis-free hexanol is a grassy green smell, and cis-free hexanol acetate is similar but a bit more fruity. So then we've got aldehyde C14, so-called, maybe a more proper name, gamma-undecalactone, and this stuff gives a peachy note. Then we've got isoe super, and this stuff is really popular in fragrances for a nice velvety woody backdrop. It's actually usually, or quite often, used at higher levels than this, but the AI in this case has decided to put it at a more subtle level, and that is fine too. In a lot of compositions, that is the right thing to do. Next we've got vanillin, and this is a vanilla smell. It's actually kind of the classic smell that most people know as vanilla, because it's used to create that vanilla smell, but also vanilla flavoring as well. So it's very, very common, cheaper than real vanilla. And then finally we've got ebanol, and this is an aroma chemical or a single molecule which has a bit of a sandalwood smell. So it's often used to create sandalwood accords, but this is a base note. So this, in this context, I guess, forms part of the base note of the perfume. It kind of combines with that vanillin and the musks to create, well, I guess a musky vanilla sandalwood base note in a sense. Anyway, that's it, bottle it up, and we're done, ready to smell it. So then here we have it, the final AI generated perfume. So let's actually go and smell it and see what it's like. Okay. So first impressions, well, kind of as predicted, what it smells like is a strong smell of pretty much, well, two of the things stick out in particular, and those are, well, three of them I'd say. It's the citral, the cis-3 hexanol acetate, and the isoamyl acetate. And when we were looking at these top notes before, these are some of the ones I asked it to tone down a little bit, because when you look at these things in a perfume, even though it may look like the levels are low, if you actually have learned perfumery and you get used to the smells of these things, you'll know how strong they are and how prone they are to overpowering a blend. And actually, usually in your perfume, you would only use those at kind of trace amounts. I mean, obviously you could use them at higher amounts in special situations if you wanted to have special effects, but usually you have them in tiny amounts. But the AI thing hasn't done that. It's just kind of put them as, amounts just like everything else. Now, because of that, the perfume basically smells like those things. So isoamyl acetate smells kind of like banana, like a synthetic banana smell. Cis-3 hexanol acetate smells like a green grassy banana smell. And citral smells kind of like a very synthetic lemon smell, often using like synthetic lemon flavorings. And as such, this whole perfume has a really strong smell, which does smell essentially green, banana-y, and kind of like synthetic sweets. It's kind of like a synthetic sweets flavoring that's mixed between kind of a banana, a lemon, and that kind of thing. So it does kind of smell like I've just opened a packet of sweets and put my nose into it. That said, you can smell some other things coming through in the background as well. So you can kind of smell a general kind of perfumey smell in the background. You've got some other elements. In particular, I think the phenylethyl acetate comes through a bit, because that's something that's a bit stronger as well, and that kind of combines with that sweet smell to some degree, but it does open up a slight floral element. So you've got a bit of a floral element, a green element, and then you've kind of got the other things like the musks in the background. These are actually a lot more subtle, so they don't come through and hit you as much when you've got this other stuff, these strong top notes blasting you in the face. But we can see how this goes as it dries down. But yeah, overall, my impressions, I mean, does it smell nice or not nice? I mean, since we've used raw materials that overall smell fairly nice, it's not like the perfume smells horrible, because you know, to get it to smell horrible, it's really going to take a lot of work. We're going to have to put things that smell bad in it. But that said, does it actually smell like you would expect for a perfume, or does it smell nice as if, you know, someone sold this to you as a perfume? Is this what you'd expect? Would you say, that's a nice perfume? Probably not. You'd probably smell it and think, you know what, this just smells like I've opened a packet of sweets, or something like that. Probably not the smell that you would, you know, want to be smelling of particularly. Not to say it's a bad smell, it's just, it doesn't do the things that a perfume would normally do. Like, it doesn't smell elegant, you know, and, you know, whatever you could say you want to get out of a perfume. In most cases, it probably doesn't do that. Anyway, I think what we can do anyway is see a little bit what it's like after it dries down. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a little skin test. And what I'm going to do is just dab a little bit on my skin. This is something I like to do when I'm testing out perfume formulas. And I'm going to let it dry down a little bit. I'm actually going to go shopping. So we'll give it an hour or so and we'll see how the smell develops, you know, because those top notes, especially on the skin, you know, like the citrihexyl acetate and the isoamyl acetate, they're going to go off pretty quickly. So we can actually at least see if underneath all of that, it smells any good afterwards. And we can also get a bit of an idea for, you know, the performance. Is it kind of going to last, project, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, on the skin already, again, it's those same things, like the cis 3-hexyl acetate, isoamyl acetate, and citral really come through, and that's giving you this sharp kind of green lemon smell. And then you also get a little bit of a floral background from that phenylethyl acetate as well. So yeah, let's see how it goes after a little bit of time. Okay, so I've got the perfume here, and it's been about an hour, so it's had a little bit of a chance to dry down. And I've been walking around a bit as well, so I've actually had a chance to see if it works as a perfume or not. So what are my impressions? Well, firstly, the actual smell. As it's dried down, the smell, you know, those top notes have come off, those kind of more like, you know, let's say, sharp synthetic top notes, and they have left more of a kind of base note that does kind of resemble a perfume in a sense. But overall, I would say, well, what it actually smells like is it kind of smells like a fragrance oil. Like, if I was going to have to say what kind of product it was, I'd probably put it down to one of those. And the smell is actually quite subtle as well, so it doesn't perform that well. And I think part of the reason for that is it has a lot of top notes in that formula and a lot of base notes, but there weren't many mid notes, so it doesn't have this kind of nice diffusive heart to it. The base notes themselves, they don't smell terrible or anything. It just kind of smells a bit muddy. It smells a bit flat and a bit muddy, but it smells fine. And you do actually have in that formula a lot of ethyl maltol and vanillin, and they do work together to produce a little bit of a sillage. I mean, it makes that classic candy floss accord, so it's hard to go too wrong with that, right? Like I said, it doesn't smell bad. It just doesn't smell like a well-composed perfume. Rather, if you were going to smell it, I would say it smells more like a kind of cheap fragrance oil. And again, around the shop, I actually smelled someone else's perfume, and then I went to smell my hand and I thought, oh, this doesn't smell as good, does it? So, you know, what are the overall impressions? Well, can you use AI to create perfume? Well, if you were going to use this AI, while you may be able to use it for like idea generation, I wouldn't say, you know, wouldn't be against using it for that. I don't think you can honestly use something like ChatGPT at the moment to go and expect it to create a full nice perfume. And to be honest, why would you? Because, you know, it's not really, like I was saying at the start of the video, trained in the way to be able to make good perfumes. Like, what it's doing essentially, and what it's good at, is it's good at creating something that looks like a perfume formula. So it's able to actually take the names of real raw materials, for the most part, and arrange them, you know, into the style of a formula using things like grams and stuff. You know, we had to ask it a bit, but it kind of gave us what, to the layperson, if you didn't do perfumery and you didn't understand any of the raw materials, it made what would look like any other perfume formula, right? If you didn't know what you're doing. But what it could not do was it couldn't actually look, you know, it couldn't actually give us good estimates for which raw materials to use in which quantities in order to create a nice smelling result. So essentially, it was good at the kind of the formatting aspect, but it wasn't good at the correlating, you know, the ingredients with the smell. It wasn't good at doing that kind of thing. And, you know, why would it? Because it's not really trained on that data. There's not enough data for it to know that. It's mostly using textual data, that kind of AI. So I do think in the future, a bespoke AI, for example, that was actually trained on, perfume formulas and then using kind of an output as the actual smell as a result, and then training it on that kind of data, I think we could get to, for sure, a good AI that could make good perfume formulas. But for now, just based on, a ChatGPT one, it's not, I wouldn't say it's really worth your time, especially if you think, oh, maybe this is how I can go and make good perfume formulas. It's not, especially at the moment, it's not the way to do it. It's probably quicker just to learn perfumery and do it that way at this point. That said, I do think in the future we will get there for sure one day, where an AI, but one that's specifically trained to make nice smelling perfume formulas, will be able to generate them. But as far as I'm aware, there's nothing like that available at the moment, at least that is publicly accessible. Like maybe they have it inside a big fragrance company, but what does it matter anyway if we can't actually go and use it? Anyway, in the meantime, if you don't want to wait around for that and you do just want to learn how to create great smelling perfumes on your own from home, then definitely go and check out the rest of my free videos on YouTube, because you can learn everything you need to know just by watching those. And on top of that, if you want all of that information distilled down and condensed into a nice structured learning pathway that essentially guides you through the process of learning perfumery in the most efficient way, which will save you time and money, then also check out my brand new online course, and the link for that is in the description just below this video. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it a little bit interesting, and I'll see you next time with another video all about perfumery.